Welcome to the Sew Along for New Look 6509 View A. For this pattern, you should cut out 6 pattern pieces. Pattern pieces 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And you will also need fusible interfacing. Take pattern piece number 1, wrong side facing up. Cut 2 pieces of interfacing and cover your buttonhole markings. Now you're going to take your bodice front. You're going to make your bust darts and your waist darts. Once you have your darts sewn, you're going to press your bust darts down and press your waist darts towards the center. Do this for both the main and lining pieces. Take your bodice back, piece number 2, and sew your waist darts for both the main and lining pieces. With right sides together, sew your front bodice pieces to the back bodice pieces at the side seams. Do this for both your main and lining fabric. Sit them to the side once attached. Fold your straps in half long ways, making sure to leave the end with the small and large dots open. So do not pin this end so that you don't make the mistake of sewing it closed. Stitch your strap using a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Once you've sewn it, you're going to layer the seam by taking one side of the seam allowance and trimming it down by at least half. Be careful not to cut your stitches. Turn your straps inside out and then give them a good press. With your main bodice right sides facing you, take your strap with button marking facing down. Place strap between 2 markings lining up raw edges, pin in place and baste. Stay stitched the top edge of your skirt front and your skirt back. Sew your skirt darts and press them towards the center. With right sides together, you're going to pin your pocket pieces to your skirt front and skirt back. There are 4 pieces, so you should pin 1 at each side of your skirt front and skirt back. You're going to match your large dots, lining up your raw edges, and then stitch at 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. After you've sewn on your pocket pieces, you're going to press your pockets with the seam towards your pocket, pressing the pocket out. Okay, now you're going to pin your front to your back at the side seams, making sure the pockets are still facing outward. Starting from the hem of your garment, you're going to stitch down to the large dot. You're going to raise your presser foot and pivot, stitch around the pocket to the next large dot, raise your presser foot and pivot, and finish your side seam. Now you're going to take the seam allowance of your pocket that's attached to the back skirt piece. You're going to clip above and below the pocket. Then press your seam open above and below the clips. Press your pocket towards the front. With right sides together, you're going to line your bodice bottom edge with your skirt top edge. You're going to match your centers, darts, and side seams. Once you've pinned and stitched, you're going to press the seam towards the bodice. So now it's time to install that invisible zipper. I still have my invisible zipper foot on the machine, and I'm just going to move this zipper tape all the way over to the outside of my foot, and just going to go ahead and finish down the side of my zip. Okay, now I think I have it most of that covered because my zipper tape is here. I'm going to go ahead and back stitch. I'm going to switch to my regular zipper foot. I'm sorry, my regular sewing foot. Now, continue sewing at 5/8 of an inch seam allowance, making sure that all of that is out of the way. Okay, back stitch, and then continue sewing at 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay. Now we're going to set the dress aside. You're going to take your bodice lining, take your bodice lining, and what you're going to do, the wrong side facing you, as if we were doing a hem, you're going to take the bottom edge of your fabric, you're going to fold it up 5/8 of an inch, and you're going to press it, okay? Do that all the way across. If you're working with something lightweight and shifty, you may want to put pins in it just to hold it in place, but go ahead and press this bottom edge up 5/8 of an inch. Okay, now we're gonna work on our lining. And with your dress right side out, you should have the right side facing you, okay? Very important, make sure that your straps are lying downward, okay? That they're lying down flat so that they don't get improperly stitched. Now you're gonna take your bodice lining and you're sewing the right side of your front bodice to the right side of the back bodice now. So we're going to pin that in place. Match your seams. Notches. Match your seams and your notches.
Okay. So when you get to where your strap is, which is here, your strap should be lying down, sandwiched between the back bodice and the front bodice. So at your zipper coils, just make sure that you pull those out of the way. Be careful not to sew over them. If you get to zipper coils, use your hand wheel to slowly go over those zipper teeth. You don't really want to just sew over those and risk either breaking the needle or messing up your machine. Okay? So now you're just going to go to the sewing machine. You're going to sew all the way around. 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Once you've sewn your bodice and your lining together, they want you to layer the seam. And if you recall, by layering the seam, we're just going to cut one of the seams down. So I am going to cut the seam line. I'm going to cut the seam allowance of the lining down by half. Just be careful and make sure that you don't cut the seam allowance to the main bodice. Okay? Just cutting the seam allowance of the lining, and do not cut into your stitches. Okay? Get all your other fabric out the way. I would hate for you to make it this far and then cut into any other part of your garment. Now that you've clipped down the seam allowance, we're going to go back to our opening edges, which is where your zipper meets with the lining. Okay, so now we're just going to pin down this edge. So like we did the straps, your zipper is now sandwiched in between your front bodice and your lining. Now it wants us to use the adjustable zipper foot to sew down our lining. And we're gonna go 1/2 inch from the zipper teeth. So you wanna go 1/2 inch in.
I'm going to attach the zipper foot to the left side. I'm going to start from the bottom edge. So I'm just going to line this outside edge of the zipper foot. I'm going to put that right up against my zipper teeth. And then I'm going to sew down. So I am kind of starting just a little above that raw edge. Now switch your zipper foot to the other side, and you're going to stitch the other side of your zipper and edge in the same way we just did the other side.
Now that we've sewn down the lining to the zipper, we're gonna go ahead and turn the lining to the inside. And so now our straps are on the outside, looking good. Then your zipper, make sure to push that out. And this is why clipping those corners was important, to keep down the bulk. Other side, do the same. Before we move on, make sure you push out any corners if they don't come out all the way out on their own, okay? I'm going to take this to the ironing board, and I am going to make sure that all of my edges are properly pressed. I'm just going to press it so that everything lies really smooth and flat, okay? And I'm going to go all the way around with that. While you're at the ironing board, give your skirt, your raw edges where your skirt and bodice is attached, go ahead and you can press that upwards, and on the outside just give it a good press so that everything is nice, neat, and flat. Okay, now with your garment inside out, or however you want it, just so that you're working with your lining on the top, you're going to understitch. You're going to understitch as far as you can. So you're going to turn your seam allowance of the skirt portion up. Make sure that's facing up. Then the edge of your lining is going to come over that to hide this seam. Okay. And you're just going to understitch with your sewing machine as far as you can. For the part that you can't, like this over here, this part over here, you're going to slip stitch using hand sewing, and you'll do that all the way around. So start with where your seam allowances is, pinning that over that seam, over that stitching line. And then you're going to go all the way as far as you can to the other side. So same thing, your stitching is going to go, your seam allowance is going to go up. So you're going to sew right over the stitching line so that that is hidden. And it looks like this when you're done.
So now we're almost at home stretch. So we're going to work on our buttonhole. So make sure you are working with the outside of your garment. Okay. So on the outside, you're going to make your buttonhole. So now that you have your buttonholes opened up, what you want to do is go ahead and try it on, okay? When you try it on, you're just going to take the front part of your strap and just pin it where you have your dot at. I don't even see my dot now. There it is. You're going to pin it where you have your dot. Just kind of center it. Make sure your straps are where you want it. If you need to adjust it, just make a new dot for yourself. And then, yeah. So you want to just put your dot, kind of center it with your buttonhole. Make sure that your straps fit the way that you want them to. If you're going to wear a t-shirt under this, I suggest trying that shirt on underneath with it to see how it will fit and feel. If you need to make adjustments to your straps, just make the necessary adjustment and put the strap where you want it. And then right in the center of your buttonhole, just make a little dot so you'll know where you need to put the button at now. Once you have your straps fitted and your buttons marked, go ahead and attach your buttons to your straps. You can do this with hand sewing, or you can attach it using your sewing machine. Now mark the length of your dress and sew up your hem, and you are done.